Lisa Rinna, the former Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star, has recently addressed the topic of facial fillers.
Lisa Rinna ended up getting this new treatment called Skin V by Juvederm.
This came after a TikTok video by Nicole Smith analyzed what some perceived as an overfilled look. In response, Rinna candidly acknowledged the issue in the comment section of the TikTok video.
Actress Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna. Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna.
I just turned 60 and I'm having the time of my life. I love this age because it's not like I don't care what people think, but I don't care what people think. I really don't.
I love it.
Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about Lisa Rinna and we're going to learn from some of the things that she's shared with us about fillers. I think you're going to find this super interesting, especially if you're using fillers or wondering about fillers. You're going to find this highly educational. So make sure you watch this one to the end. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Amir Karam, board certified facial plastic surgeon and founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. And today we're going to take a deep dive into Lisa Rinna's recent video and press around the topic of fillers. We're not going to make this about Lisa Rinna because I think she's done enough to bring this topic to light, and she was honest enough and forthcoming enough to be transparent about her use of fillers, but also basically letting us know that it doesn't always go the way you want it to. And I admire the courage and candidness because it got a lot of flack on social media and things like that, like a lot of celebrities unfortunately do when they come out looking either one way or the other, and people, you know, are not happy with it. So it's been tradition to kind of keep things on the DL and not really share, but anytime a celebrity does, I always give them kudos because who better to inform and teach us than somebody who's in the public eye and has so much influential impact as a celebrity or a high-level influencer in whatever space that they're in. We're gonna take this opportunity to learn a little bit about what she's describing as perhaps a product that wasn't right for her, but also I'm going to give you sort of some guidelines and boundaries and really understand fillers so this type of thing doesn't happen to you if this is what you want to avoid, right? I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's got a right to do what they want to do when it comes to their aesthetic expression. But I know that there's a lot of you, because many of my personal patients and people who generally find my surgical work so interesting and so desirable is because I specialize in a very natural looking outcome. And ultimately that means that no one should know that you've had work done and you look completely untouched. You just look like a younger version of yourself, etc. And so we're gonna start with that perspective and put together how you can retain that naturalness using the various tools that are out there, specifically in this case, fillers. All right, so you're gonna definitely walk away more knowledgeable, more empowered, and less likely to fall into certain cycles that may lead to a bad outcome in the long run or even the short run. All right, so here's the story. When you watch this video that I'm about to put up here, this was published by one of the nurses that was injecting her, and you listen to what it is they're trying to accomplish, you'll realize that there's intention behind it, but I'm gonna point out why that intention doesn't necessarily qualify as a good decision and how you fall into this problem in the first place. So let's take a look.
Doing beautiful filler. See, she's gorgeous, and I think you recognize her. She has a beautiful face. She has a striking profile. I love everything about her third, her upper third, her middle third, and her lower third. Every woman has some parts that they don't like about themselves, and it's completely normal. She's bothered by these little transitional issues. You see how she's got a little bit of gapping right in here. She's getting a little nasal jugal break. I don't want to add any more volume to her, so I'm going to use Skin Deep. Skin Deep is really nice because it's an internal moisturizer. So I'm going to deal with some of these transitional areas right in here, and that's all she really needs. She doesn't need much at all.
You have to, you know, maintain, and you have to keep looking fresh as a daisy.
So what the injector is doing in this particular video is trying to fill in areas where there's shallow shadows that form, right? So filling a little transitionary type of fill. And this happens all the time. And why does it happen? Because not all the filler goes away. Go and get a little bit of filler done, say a syringe or two in each cheek. And then 6 months, 9 months later, you're like, oh, I see like a little bit diminishing here, diminishing there. I'm gonna put a little bit more in. So you go in for another syringe here. And then you're like, okay, well now maybe that area where it transitions to the temple or that area that transitions here, you need to put a little bit here. So you put a little bit there, on and on, right? 6 months later, 9 months later, a year later. Now what's happening is you've got filler that is in the face at different points in time. So one area stays high, another area goes down because this part here was in like a year and a half ago or a year ago, and this part just was put in about 6 months ago. So you start to get these like wonky waves of areas of the face that have fullness relative to areas that doesn't have fullness or slight. So these are interpreted as depressions, transitions. I need to smooth it out a little bit. And that's what's happening here. The particular product that's being used is a newer product that is designed to be very superficial for fine lines. It's kind of like used in a very soft way, not like Voluma where it's like building up, or Restylane Lift where it's like really filling and moving mass tissue, but it creates the same exact issue because you're treating old filler problem with new filler, and 6 months, 9 months down the road, you're gonna be down here. Now here's the caveat. Not all that filler is going away. That's the tough situation. Not all that filler is gonna go away. You're gonna keep some of it because fillers don't always completely go away. And that's why you see in the case of Lisa that when you compare her photos when she was younger to what she looks like now, anatomically, it's a very different structure to the face, right? That's because these fillers stack on top of each other and they never completely go away. So every time you're putting another layer on, you're stacking it upon another layer. So let's just say hypothetically, 80% of the filler goes away, 20% stays. Well, you can see 20% on top of 20% on top of 20% eventually ends up being a lot more volume than what you had when you were starting off, right? It makes sense. So that's why this comment about this particular product, Skin Vive, which I personally don't have any experience using, doesn't make a lot of sense if you're wondering, why does she look the way she does now versus the way she used to? I mean, this is the aesthetic that Lisa is clearly going for, and by all means, go for whatever you hope to go for. No judgment here whatsoever about the outcome. The point that I want to make is just for you, is to understand that it's not about a single product going rogue and causing this, because that would be unfortunate if you thought that and carried on with products that you've been using over time. It's a cautionary tale if you don't like the way Lisa's face is transformed, to know that it's not specific to Lisa or the product that she used, it's about the practice of using filler over time. Just to remind you, I don't inject currently, but we do have a wonderful nurse injector in our practice, and I used to inject a lot. Like I was surgery several days a week, and I did 2 half days of injectables. So I had a lot of experience with the different fillers and the different approaches and modalities, and really found a place for fillers in the continuum, and I still do. So don't take this as a knock against fillers. But this is about learning from mistakes. My own mistakes have taught me some very important things. So number one, it has taught me that fillers can't be used to lift the face, right? So when sagging happens, you cannot lift the face by filling it up like a balloon. Old thinking, old Dr. Karam thinking, agreed that there was some merit here. Current Dr. Karam thinking, based on experiences, has told me very clearly that this is not happening. Filling the cheeks out to here, filling the jawline, etc., isn't going to lift the face unless you go so extreme that now you violate that beautiful line that creates a natural outcome. Now you look like you've had work done, which again, if that's okay with you, then maybe there's some merit there. If it's not okay with you, you want to stay on this side of the natural line. You don't want to just put in a ton of fillers in areas that volume doesn't naturally exist. And as you all know, I've made several videos on this topic describing this, and this is something that's not unique to Lisa, it's not unique to anyone. I see it day in and day out with patients who come to me for consultation, or patients that I've seen, from other practices, etc., that have basically informed me, again, going back to the first point, my aesthetic, my approach is natural. I don't want to change the essence of what the person look like. People who come to me want that as well. So therefore, even if somebody wants more filler or wants this and that, I've always said no. I've always said no when I feel like it's unnecessary. And I've kept people from getting there, even during the days when I used to do filler. I just kind of lost interest in it because I realized it wasn't working. It was like putting, a few drops in a bucket, basically. It wasn't changing the way it would if you were 30 getting a little bit of filler. It looks pretty. When you're 50 something and getting filler, it doesn't manifest that much. It doesn't change. So that's my personal, sort of story with that. Ultimately, chasing these little hollows and transitions and stuff like that should be expected when you're putting in fillers at different points over time. Probably the best thing to do is not to do that and let everything just kind of calm down and settle down as much as they can possibly do on their own. Now, you say, well, a lot of these enzymes, you can inject something in and remove the filler. The fact of the matter is, it's a very difficult thing to do because they're, again, placed in multiple different layers. Like if you watched what was just happening here, this was placed in a very superficial layer, whereas the original fillers could have been placed in a much deeper layer. So where are you gonna stick your needle in to try to remove these fillers with enzyme? It becomes extremely challenging to get it right without causing irregularity and unnaturalness throughout the face. Number one, you need to find an injector you trust, right? Somebody who sees things the way you see them. In other words, if you're looking for a very natural looking outcome, you need somebody who also recognizes the value of that and creates natural looking outcomes. You want somebody who sees the face the way you ideally want your face to look, because that correlation is super important to the outcomes that you're searching for. Number two, and I don't know exactly how to look for this, but you want somebody who's very ethical and honest. And I think some of the signs for that are if somebody says no to you and tells you you don't need something, that's usually a good sign. I used to tell people no at least 25-30% of the time when they came in for fillers, and I still use that same metric when it comes to surgical stuff. But it would upset people because people would come in, they're hung up over like a little area of shadow or whatever it is or something, and they want you to do more. And that's where, as a provider, I've always stood my ground and said, sorry, no, and here's the reason why. We're gonna keep you out of trouble. And this little thing that you're so worried about is really not even worth worrying about. Less is more sometimes when it comes to this kind of stuff. And you want someone who recognizes this is a long-term relationship and isn't gonna say yes to you every time you want something or suggesting things that you don't possibly need. So, again, sees the way you want to see it, is ethical and honest, has got a good reputation, and those are key aspects of keeping yourself out of trouble. And then honestly, here's another thing, and this is kind of like the most awkward, honestly, because people around you will tolerate a lot of these changes because they don't want to say anything and make you feel bad when these transformations start happening over time. Or they might not even notice it because it's happening so slowly, transitioning over time. But you need someone in your life that is gonna be honest with you and straight with you and tell you, okay, hey, you're crossing some lines here, you're starting to look weird. Enough volume in your lips are getting too full, etc. Of course, when you're like a celebrity or something, you put your photos on a social media thing or your press takes a picture of you, everyone has something to say about it. So you're getting like tons of judgment. But in real life, it's not like that so much because people, again, I've noticed, can be very polite, even though they might be thinking something or might say something behind your back, but they won't say it to your face. So you wanna basically leave your friends and family to be very straight with you and honest with you and take what they say seriously because they care about you and they don't ultimately want you to look funky. And I've done trend videos and why trends are not a great thing to follow because things change. You know, the big lip trends change, the high cheekbone trends change. Like things always change. So you don't want to be the person who's caught following some influencer on Instagram or TikTok doing something and then not realizing that that was a bad idea and then, the trend has changed and you're stuck with something. So don't follow trends. Just this final statement, I think, encompasses everything. And this is why this channel exists and why I spend my time making these videos for you guys, because I want you to be so empowered and so knowledgeable that you ultimately make the best decisions. You don't rely on others, you don't rely on your provider, you don't, have to make mistakes and then learn from them. You can know what to do and what needs to be done up front. I'm telling you, I get so much feedback and so much love from the folks who've learned from this stuff and kept them when they've made good decisions and kept themselves out of trouble. it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I feel like I'm touching lives even without even, having to make you my official patient. So just sharing some of learnings and things like that is really good. If you're open-minded to it and take some of this stuff to the test, you will navigate through this road much more effectively and with fewer and fewer missteps, which some of them can be really difficult to take. So these are some very important points to take home with regards to what is going on with Lisa. And again, I commend her and really appreciate the opportunity that she has presented to be able to talk about this and talk about it openly so that we can all learn from it and make good decisions about the process of using fillers. Now, I've also spent some time discussing where fillers are beneficial, how they should be used, how volume in general should be used so that the overall face looks natural and normal and doesn't look like it's had any work done associated with it. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's always a pleasure sharing. Let's give it up for Lisa Rinna for bringing this topic to light and giving us an opportunity to speak about it. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this video, hit like. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. I try to get to as many of them as possible. And really something you'll love is the Karam MD Journal, which is a newsletter that I send to your email once a week that has topics like this and other topics, ultimately with the same exact goal of empowering you and making you knowledgeable. Share this with some friends. Let's get the word out. All right, folks, until next time, Dr. Karam.